Let's begin by creating a very simple Windows Forms program. A Windows form is the normal kind of box which you see coming up on your screen. So we begin with File, New, Project. And this time we select Windows Forms application instead of Console application. We're going to call our project HelloWorld with no spaces. The first thing that's different when we begin programming with Windows Forms is that our starting point is a form which has already been created for us. We're going to very simply add a button to this form, and you notice we have a toolbox on the left hand side which allows us to choose various controls to add to our form. So under Common Controls, select the button and drag and drop it onto the form. Now notice in the bottom right hand corner we have a Properties window. In the Properties window you can see a text property. We're going to change the text property to say hello. Now we're going to change another property of the control called its name, which is at the top here, and by convention we normally name our controls with something which indicates the type of control we're using. So we'll begin this control with the characters BTN for button. So let's call it BTN in lowercase hello. Hit enter. Now we have a form. This form has a title. At the moment it's looking a bit grey because the form's not selected, but if we select the form then we can see it says Form 1. Now we actually want to change the name of our form first of all. This is the name of the control, which is the form in this case, to FRM hello, and we're going to change the text which appears on the form by scrolling down through the properties until we see the text property, which is what is displayed in the title bar of the form, and we'll change this to say hello world. Finally we're going to add a label to our form, so we'll drag and drop a label control from the left, and we're going to change the properties of the label control so that the text is larger. You'll notice we have the label control selected, it has the dots around it, and if we scroll through the properties, initially we're going to set the contents to be empty, so we'll clear that out, the text property. We're also going to look up to the font here. If we expand the font box a little, you can see that we have a range of properties. You may find it easy to just edit the size of the font here. We could change it to 12 point. The units are points, 12. Microsoft Sans Serif. We'll stick with the system standards. At the moment nothing appears to change on the form because it's blank. But if we now try to select in the area, we can find the label control. Now what we want to do is we want to set the value of that label control when we click the hello button. So in order to set a values at the labels property, we can do that with a very small amount of code, and we're going to call that code up by double clicking on the button, the hello button. So when we double click, you'll see that we're into a code view. This is a lot like our console mode programs, but instead of just a main method, you'll see that we have a couple of methods here. One method called FRM hello, which is the main form initialization method, and then we have another method here which if we expand the main window a little, you can see is a void method, so it doesn't return anything, and it's called btn hello underscore click. This is the method which runs when we click on the hello button. What we actually want to do when we click the hello button is to change the text property of the form, of the label control, so that it shows hello world. So we'll do that by beginning with typing the name of the label control, which is LBL. Did we not change its name? Let's just go back and check our form. Find the label control. Maybe we didn't rename it. Let's check the name at the top. No, we didn't. We left it at label 1. So let's correct that to LBL message. Moving back to our code, which is in a window here, we can now begin typing LBL message. Now, this isn't like a normal variable. The message control is actually an object. So we're going to set one of its properties, and you may remember that objects, we can refer to properties and methods of objects by using a dot. And now you'll notice that the various properties we could set of this object appear, one of which is text. So we'll type TEX and the IntelliSense is filling it in for us, and we're actually going to set the value of the text control to say hello. So we'll use a string constant to set it to say, actually we'll say hello world, exclamation mark. Add a semicolon to the end. And that's all the programming we need to do. So we can test our program now by running start. We see our window here. You can see that the hello world, which we set as the property of the form text, is already showing, but our label control is showing nothing until we click the button when it says hello world. And that's our first very simple program.